Welcome to the USA News Channel. In recent days, America has mourned the loss of beloved icons. Today, we honor their legacies and gently reflect on the emotional journeys they faced in their final days. If their stories touch your heart or bring back memories of loved ones you've lost, we invite you to share your thoughts below. Together, let's honor their memory with love, warmth, and gratitude. Thank you. And now, let's begin. Benita Valente. Benita Valente, the distinguished American soprano celebrated for her luminous tone and refined artistry, died October 24, 2025, at the age of 91. She first rose to prominence with her Metropolitan Opera debut in 1973 as Pamina in Mozart's The Magic Flute, a performance that marked the start of a remarkable international career. For more than 2 decades, she sang over 140 performances at the Met, portraying roles such as Susanna in The Marriage of Figaro, Nanetta in Falstaff, and Elia in Idomeneo. She also appeared with leading orchestras throughout the United States and Europe, performing under Leonard Bernstein, Claudio Abbado, and Riccardo Muti. Her catalog of more than 50 recordings earned 2 Grammy nominations and secured her legacy as one of America's defining interpreters of Mozart, Handel, and Schubert. Later in life, she devoted herself to mentoring through the Lindemann Young Artist Program and the European Mozart Academy, continuing to inspire future generations. She's being remembered as an artist of honesty and grace whose music embodied both discipline and soul. Share her age, 91, or write RIP Benita Valente in the comments to celebrate a century of song and a voice that still echoes with beauty. Anthony Jackson. Anthony Jackson, one of America's most respected bass guitarists and studio innovators, passed away on October 19, 2025, at the age of 73. Celebrated for his unmatched precision and deep musical insight, Jackson reshaped how the world heard the bass. Rising to prominence in the early 1970s, he became a fixture in recording studios, lending his touch to some of music's most enduring works. His unforgettable performance on the O'Jays for the Love of Money remains a defining moment in pop and soul, while collaborations with Steely Dan, Chaka Khan, Paul Simon, Donald Fagen, and Al Di Meola showcased his rare versatility. Born in New York City in 1952, Jackson was a self-taught musician who later pursued formal studies in theory and composition. Seeking to expand the instrument's range, he co-created the 6-string contrabass guitar, a groundbreaking innovation that inspired generations of bassists. Although he rarely sought fame, Jackson's work spoke volumes. His artistry enriched albums like Al Di Meola's Elegant Gypsy and live performances with Michel Petrucciani and Hiromi, earning him admiration for his quiet brilliance and discipline. Anthony Jackson's influence endures wherever musicians strive for excellence. His bass was more than rhythm. It was structure, soul, and intellect combined. Write RIP Anthony Jackson or leave 73, his age, as a tribute to a musician whose ideas forever changed the language of the bass guitar. Virginia Lilly. Virginia Lilly, best known as one of Australia's most dynamic rock vocalists, has died on October 22, 2025, at the age of 56 after a courageous battle with ovarian cancer. From her breakthrough in the late 1990s, Lilly became a familiar force in Australia's live music scene, admired for her powerful voice and commanding presence. As the frontwoman of her self-titled band Lilly, she carved a reputation for high-energy performances and a sound that fused classic hard rock with modern edge. Her collaborations and tours with global acts such as Kiss, INXS, and Guns N' Roses brought her international recognition and respect among peers. In 2020, she captured national attention on The Voice Australia Season 9, joining Boy George's team and earning praise for her fiery cover of Barracuda, which showcased her range and intensity. Offstage, Lilly devoted time to mentoring young musicians and lending her voice to charitable causes. She supported the Touch Myself campaign for breast cancer awareness, honoring fellow Australian rock icon Chrissy Amphlett, and continued performing throughout her illness to inspire early detection and self-advocacy. Virginia Lilly's legacy rests not only in her music, but in her resilience, a reminder that passion and authenticity can outlast pain. Comment 56, her age, or write R.I.P. Virginia Lilly to honor a voice that burned bright in Australian rock. Jack DeJohnette. Jack DeJohnette, a pioneering jazz pianist and drummer who transformed the landscape of modern jazz, has died at the age of 83 on October 26, 2025. Over a career spanning more than 6 decades, DeJohnette became one of America's most respected musicians. Emerging from the Chicago jazz scene in the 1960s, he worked alongside Miles Davis, Herbie Hancock, and Keith Jarrett, shaping some of the most influential recordings in the genre's history. He contributed to over 400 albums, including Davis's Bitches Brew, and recorded extensively for ECM Records. As a band leader, he produced more than 30 albums, each exploring fresh creative directions rooted in the spirit of improvisation. Born on August 9, 1942, in Chicago, DeJohnette's musical path began with classical piano before he shifted to drums, where he found his distinctive voice. His acclaimed trio with Keith Jarrett and Gary Peacock captivated audiences worldwide for more than 30 years, earning several Grammy Awards and widespread acclaim. DeJohnette's death represents a profound loss to the jazz world. His influence remains alive in every rhythm, every composition, and every artist inspired by his fearless innovation. Comment 83 or write R.I.P. Jack DeJohnette to celebrate the life and legacy of a true master of modern jazz. Prunella Scales. Prunella Scales, acclaimed British actress best known for her portrayal of Sybil Fawlty in the classic sitcom Fawlty Towers, died on October 27, 2025. She was 93. Across film, television, and theater, Scales built a career defined by sharp comedic timing and unmistakable presence. Her performance opposite John Cleese became one of British comedy's most recognizable pairings and helped elevate Fawlty Towers into global cultural memory. Beyond comedy, she proved her dramatic range in numerous stage productions and television dramas throughout the 1970s and 1980s. Born in Sutton, England, in 1932, Scales trained at the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School before beginning her professional career in the late 1950s. She appeared in series such as A Question of Attribution, films including Howard's End, and worked steadily on stage at the West End. Her work earned multiple BAFTA nominations and long-term respect from critics and colleagues. In her personal life, Scales married actor Timothy West in 1963, with whom she shared 2 sons. Later in life, she became an advocate for dementia awareness after publicly discussing her own battles with the illness. Her passing marks the loss of an artist whose voice, wit, and discipline shaped generations of performers. Fans remember her not only as Sybil, but as a versatile actress who elevated every role she touched. Comment 93, her age, or write R.I.P. Prunella to honor a life dedicated to craft, courage, and character. Marcy Free. Marcy Free, the acclaimed American rock singer best known for her powerful work with Unruly Child and King Cobra, has died on October 24, 2025, at the age of 71. Born in Michigan in 1954, Free began her musical path under the name Mark Free, finding early success in the mid-1980s with King Cobra's Ready to Strike and Thrill of a Lifetime. Her voice, a fusion of force, clarity, and emotion, became one of the era's most recognizable sounds in melodic hard rock. She later joined Signal, lending her talent to the celebrated album Loud and Clear before forming Unruly Child in 1991. With that band, she shaped a catalog that balanced technical brilliance with heartfelt storytelling. In 1993, Free came out as a transgender woman, an act of honesty that changed not only her life, but the perception of identity in the rock community. While some met the revelation with hesitation, many praised her courage, seeing in her a pioneer who refused to live in disguise. In later years, she lived quietly in Michigan, continuing to write, record, and stay in touch with devoted fans who had followed her for decades. Her songs, filled with passion and self-discovery, remain timeless reminders that music's true power lies in truth. Comment 71 or write R.I.P. Marcy Free to honor a voice that broke barriers and proved that authenticity can still roar louder than fame. Sam Rivers. Sam Rivers, American musician, singer and songwriter best known as the bassist for the rock band Limp Bizkit, has died on October 18, 2025, at the age of 47. Rivers was a founding member of the nu metal group that rose to global fame in the late 1990s and early 2000s with their explosive mix of rap, rock, and raw emotion. His powerful bass lines helped define the band's sound on landmark albums like Significant Other, 1999, and Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water, 2000, both of which topped charts and sold millions worldwide. Hits such as Nookie, My Generation, and Rollin' became anthems of their era, carried by Rivers' steady rhythm and stage presence. Born in Jacksonville, Florida, in 1977, Sam Rivers began playing bass at a young age and formed Limp Bizkit alongside Fred Durst, Wes Borland, and John Otto. Beyond the band, Rivers also played in side projects and worked as a producer, mentoring younger musicians in the Florida rock scene. In later years, he continued performing until health issues limited his touring. Colleagues remembered him as quiet, generous, and deeply committed to his craft. Sam Rivers' music remains part of the soundtrack of a generation that grew up in the late 1990s. His legacy endures through the records that captured youth, rebellion, and rhythm. To honor his memory, write R.I.P. Sam Rivers or leave 47, his age, as a tribute to a musician whose sound still shakes the walls of rock history. Ace Frehley. Rock guitarist Ace Frehley, founding member of the legendary band Kiss, has passed away at the age of 74. He died on October 16, 2025, at his home in Westchester County, New York. Known to millions as the band's original spaceman, Frehley helped define the sound and image of one of rock's most iconic groups. Born Paul Daniel Frehley in the Bronx in 1951, he co-founded Kiss in 1973 alongside Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, and Peter Criss. His explosive guitar solos, space-themed persona, and raw charisma played a crucial role in the band's rise to global fame. Frehley wrote and performed several of Kiss's enduring tracks, including Shock Me, Cold Gin, and Rocket Ride. His signature use of effects and theatrical showmanship influenced generations of guitarists. After leaving Kiss in 1982, Frehley pursued a successful solo career, releasing the platinum-certified Ace Frehley, 1978, and later albums such as Frehley's Comet, 1987, and Spaceman, 2018. Despite struggles with addiction and creative differences, he remained a beloved figure in rock history, rejoining Kiss for their 1996 reunion tour and being inducted with the band into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2014. Ace Frehley's legacy will forever shine among the stars he once sang about, a true rock astronaut who turned noise into magic and stage lights into galaxies. If his music ever lit up your world, leave a note of respect. Comment 74 for his age or write R.I.P. Ace Frehley to honor the man who took rock music to outer space. Isabel Tate. Isabel Tate, the rising American actress celebrated for her breakthrough role in 911, Nashville, passed away on October 19, 2025, at the age of 23. Born in Nashville, Tennessee in 2002, Tate displayed creativity and empathy from an early age. She graduated from Middle Tennessee State University with a degree in business, but soon decided to follow her passion for performance. Her acting debut as Julie in the pilot of 911, Nashville marked her arrival as a promising new voice in television. Critics and colleagues alike praised her subtle emotional power and authenticity, noting her ability to bring quiet truth to every scene. Beyond her work on screen, Tate was also a gifted musician and songwriter. She often performed at local events and collaborated with friends, blending her love for storytelling with melody. Offstage, she gave time to animal welfare groups and projects supporting disability awareness, known for her kindness and generosity toward others. Despite personal health challenges, she remained committed to her art and to uplifting those around her. Isabel Tate is survived by her parents, stepfather, and sister, who described her as a gentle light with a fearless heart. To honor her memory, share your favorite performance or write R.I.P. Isabel Tate for a star whose promise will never fade. Nick Mangold. Nick Mangold, veteran center for the New York Jets, passed away on October 25, 2025, in New Jersey. He was 41. For more than a decade, Mangold led the Jets' offense with unwavering, steady leadership. Known for his sharp wit, power, and reliability, he was a 7-time Pro Bowl selection and was named to the NFL's All-Decade Team of the 2010s. Born in Centerville, Ohio, in 1984, Mangold made his mark as a standout Big Ten player before being drafted by the Jets in the first round of the 2006 NFL Draft. His skill and consistency quickly established him as a cornerstone of the team's identity. Protecting quarterbacks like Chad Pennington and Mark Sanchez, he played a key role in leading New York to AFC championships in 2009 and 2010. After retiring in 2017, Mangold remained active in charity and community service, regularly appearing at alumni and veteran events and representing the Jets with humility and humor. His passing marks the loss of a player admired for his on-field dominance and boundless kindness, a leader whose loyalty and character defined an era of Jets football. Remember his legacy by commenting 41, his age, or writing RIP Nick to remember a man whose heart, strength, and leadership continue to inspire all who love the game. Alan Jackson. Alan Jackson, a name that once filled stadiums, small-town radio stations, and hearts across America. His voice became the soundtrack to love, loss, and the simple beauty of everyday life. Over 3 remarkable decades, he sold more than 60 million records and scored 35 #1 hits, achievements that established him as a cornerstone of the genre. Yet beneath the dazzling aura of country fame lay a man wrestling with quiet storms few ever noticed. A human story hidden behind applause. A marriage that endured more than 40 years, weathering betrayal, forgiveness, and the long road back to trust. A body that began to fail, testing the faith of a man once thought unshakable. Fame built his legend, but persistence revealed his soul. What unfolded behind closed doors was not just the story of a country music star, but of a husband, a fighter, and a believer learning to rise when life cut deepest. As we walk through the echoes of his journey, prepare to see Alan Jackson not as a distant icon, but as a man whose greatest song was survival. And if his journey resonates with you through heartbreak, resilience, or the will to keep moving forward, share your thoughts, a lyric you love, or how his music touched your life. Sometimes the way we speak about someone becomes the chorus that keeps them going. On October 17, 1958, in the quiet town of Noonan, Georgia, a boy named Alan Eugene Jackson entered the world as the youngest of 5 children. His family carved out a life inside a humble home fashioned from his grandfather's old tool shed, a small oil-scented refuge where metal clattered, engines hummed, and every corner carried the weight of working-class survival. His father, Joseph, spent long days as a mechanic at the Ford Motor Company assembly plant, while his mother, Ruth, oversaw nutrition and kept order in the school cafeteria, stretching modest means with quiet strength. In that tight space, Alan learned discipline without anyone naming it, and honesty without anyone forcing it. Weekends were marked by gospel hymns that rose from church pews, filling the room with voices that trembled between faith and fatigue. Those melodies planted seeds he could not yet understand. They taught him that music could heal, could lift, and could reveal. Everything changed when he stumbled onto the sounds of Hank Williams Jr. and John Anderson. Through them, he heard songs that didn't hide hardship. They breathed it. Country music spoke of heartbreak, dusty roads, and the kind of longing found in small towns like his. At 16, his parents handed him a guitar that cost only $50. The wood was plain, the strings a little stiff, but the gift carried more weight than anyone imagined. In his hands, that cheap guitar became a compass pointing toward stories waiting to be written, stages waiting to be walked, and a future that stretched far beyond the walls of a converted shed. It was the moment the boy with calloused hands first tasted destiny, and the world of country music quietly shifted, not yet aware of the voice preparing to rise from Georgia's red clay. Only a year after finding the courage to pick up a guitar, Alan stepped onto a stage for the first time, performing in his high school's production of Oklahoma under a flickering spotlight and a nervous heartbeat. It was a small scene in a small auditorium, But for those who watched closely, it felt like the spark of something larger. After graduation, adulthood arrived without mercy. He drifted through one tough manual job after another, loading trucks, selling shoes, fixing machinery just to keep bills paid. Yet, every time the sun dropped behind the Georgia pines, music returned like a persistent whisper he could not ignore. With a few friends, he gathered enough courage to form a band called Dixie Steel. They played smoky club corners, roadside dives, and half-lit community halls. On those nights, no crew followed them. They hauled speakers, strung cables, arranged lighting, and packed everything back into their truck long after midnight. Sometimes they earned a few bills. Other nights, they walked away with nothing but exhaustion and the stubborn hope that tomorrow might be different. Deep down, Alan recognized that the stage was not just escape. It was a doorway out of ordinary life. In 1985, he made the choice that separates dreamers from believers. He packed up his entire world, kissed Georgia goodbye, and drove toward Nashville, the sacred capital of country music. But the Golden City was far harsher than the postcards promised. He and his wife Denise squeezed into a tiny apartment with paper-thin walls, second-hand furniture, and more silence than comfort. To survive, Alan sorted mail in the basement of the Nashville network. Denise worked long flights as a stewardess, returning with tired eyes and stories from the sky. Every month felt like balancing on cracked glass. Then fate winked. One afternoon, while working a routine flight, Denise recognized Glenn Campbell, the legendary voice her husband had worshipped from afar. Nervous but determined, she approached him, shared Alan's dream, and waited. Glenn listened quietly, then reached into his pocket and offered a small business card. "Tell him to give us a call," he said. That simple rectangle of cardstock felt like a golden key slipped into Denise's hand. That key soon opened doors they never could have kicked down alone. It placed Alan in front of publishers, writers, and producers who could finally hear what he had carried inside for decades. Years later, when Glenn Campbell passed away, Alan would choke up recalling the moment. "I'll always feel I owe Glenn so much," he said. That connection was the beginning of everything. Momentum followed. In 1989, Alan signed his first recording contract with Arista, becoming its very first artist under the newly formed Arista Nashville label. In early 1990, he released his debut album, Here in the Real World, which struck listeners like a cold wind of truth. It announced that the boy from Noonan had arrived, not as a tourist, but as a storyteller with clay-dusted boots and something honest to say. That same year, American television captured a poetic moment. Alan received a gold record, and Glenn Campbell stood beside him smiling. The story had come full circle. Throughout the 1990s, Alan's career didn't just rise. It erupted. Albums like Who I Am, 1994, and High Mileage, 1998, pushed him onto the mountaintop. Songs such as Chattahoochee, Livin' on Love, and Gone Country became cultural wildfire, echoing through trucks, jukeboxes, summer fairs, and teenage hearts. Some hits were born from pure accident. During a tour stop in Virginia, the bar's jukebox malfunctioned, shaking violently, rattling coins, refusing to play. Leaning against it in frustration, Alan felt a melody bloom in his mind. Within minutes, the bones of Don't Rock the Jukebox arrived like lightning. That was the magic of his writing. Ordinary moments turned immortal. But the decade brought complications. Pop influence began invading Nashville, turning twang into gloss. Many artists bent toward the new trend to please radio programmers. Alan refused. To him, country music was a living photograph of Southern soil, its heartbreak, humor, and humility. His refusal to compromise framed him as traditional, even stubborn. Critics claimed he was choking progress. Fans felt he was saving the genre. That conviction burned brightest during his 2000 collaboration with George Strait, Murder on Music Row. The song accused Nashville of killing the heart of country music in pursuit of commercial shine. Lines like, "Someone killed country music," stirred controversy into a storm. Some hailed it as a rallying cry. Others called it disrespect. Either way, it could not be ignored. Then came the morning of September 11th, 2001, when the world's breath shattered. In the quiet stillness of dawn, Alan woke at 4 a.m. with a melody haunting his chest. Afraid to lose it, he rushed to his writing room and scribbled the first lines. By the time his wife and daughters left for Sunday school, the song was whole. Where were you when the world stopped turning? Arrived not through calculation, but as a gift, as if grief itself had chosen a messenger. In those years, Alan Jackson did more than sing. He became the voice of the unspoken. The ache in a father's chest, the prayer whispered at a kitchen table, the resilience humming beneath everyday silence. His journey was proof that sometimes the smallest door, opened by a single business card, can lead to a story that echoes across generations. When the 2001 CMA Awards arrived, Alan stepped onto the stage with shaking hands and a quiet prayer in his chest. For 5 still minutes, a stunned audience listened as the world stood still. No fireworks, no drums, just a soft voice and a guitar carrying the raw ache of a wounded nation. When it ended, no one exhaled for a full heartbeat. By sunrise, the surge of people searching for his name crashed his website, turning one performance into a cultural milestone. Where were you when the world stopped turning? Spent 5 weeks at the top of the charts, becoming his 29th #1 hit and earning 3 ACM awards along with his first Grammy for Best Country Song. Alan later admitted, "I saw people cry, cheer, whisper along. I'm just grateful it comforted someone." The lyrics would eventually be preserved in the U.S. congressional record, a permanent reminder of the moment America found its breath again. The success followed him into his 2002 album Drive, where nostalgia drifted through songs like Drive for Daddy Jean and Remember When. But he refused to be boxed in by sentimental storytelling. In 2006, with quiet humility, he recorded Precious Memories as a simple gift for his mother. Unexpectedly, millions embraced it, transforming a private gesture into one of the most beloved gospel albums of its decade. Beyond the studio lights, Alan became a quiet fashion icon. In a GQ interview, he joked about owning dozens of custom boots, some bright red, one pair famously worn while water skiing in the Chattahoochee music video. His cowboy hat, inseparable from his image, carried a deeper story. Childhood left him with a scar on his forehead after running through a glass door. The hat began as cover, then grew into identity. Over the years, rhinestone shirts, weathered jeans, and exotic leathers evolved into a uniform recognizable from stadium rafters. Even the brim of his Stetson was personally molded to angle just right along his jawline. He often said cowboy hats weren't costumes. They were culture, and not everyone could wear them honestly. As decades turned, the music never slowed. Albums like What I Do, 2004, Good Time, 2008, Freight Train, 2010, 30 Miles West, 2012, The Bluegrass Album, 2013, Angels and Alcohol, 2015, and Where Have You Gone, 2021, flowed like chapters in an autobiography. When asked why he never drifted from tradition, he answered simply, "I came to Nashville to make real country music. I grew up with Conway, Charlie, George, Merle. That's what raised me, and that's what I'm here to keep alive." Over 30-plus years, his impact solidified. More than 75 million records sold worldwide, 44 million in the United States alone. A star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, induction into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Yet numbers tell only half the story. The true legacy is written in Midwestern kitchens, dusty truck dashboards, county fair parking lots, and quiet porches where his songs became background to ordinary American life. Ordinary but unforgettable. The rise of Alan Jackson mirrored another long journey, his marriage to Denise. Their love began in 1976 when Alan, an 18-year-old with a mischievous grin, noticed a spirited 16-year-old scooping ice cream behind a shop counter. Trying to get her attention, he jokingly flipped a coin into her blouse. Denise was more startled than impressed, but the boldness lingered in her mind. Unwilling to let the moment fade, Alan escalated his charm, slipping into the back seat of her car and popping up just as she started the engine. The audacity startled her into laughter, and from laughter grew curiosity. Soon the two were inseparable, sharing sodas on Friday nights, dreaming beneath dashboard light, talking about futures far bigger than their small Georgia hometown. Their dates cost little but felt priceless. After 2 years of quiet devotion, on a peaceful Christmas Eve, Alan nervously pulled a modest ring from his pocket. Holiday lights shimmered like stars in the window as he whispered a promise. Denise, overwhelmed by simplicity and sincerity, said yes with tears and a smile. Neither of them knew that the laughter from that ice cream counter would one day carry them through betrayal, fame, sickness, triumphs, and storms. But in that single moment, two young hearts wrote the first line of a lifelong ballad. They were married in 1979. Denise, barely 19, Alan, just 21. The ceremony was small and unadorned, held beneath soft evening lights in the presence of only their closest family and friends. There were no towering floral displays or lavish receptions, just two young hearts promising forever with trembling hands. Their modest beginning became proof that sincerity can stand stronger than spectacle. The early stretch of married life was anything but simple. Denise worked as a teacher before becoming a flight attendant, often racing between cities with a stiff uniform and a tired smile. Alan, meanwhile, sorted letters in the mailroom at the Nashville network, performing at tiny bars whenever the owners would grant him a corner stage. Cheap motel rooms, late drives home, and exhaustion followed them like shadows. Still, they clung tightly to their dream. That music, his music, might someday lead them to something better. They eventually purchased a small farm in Franklin, Tennessee, a quiet pocket of land where the soil ran rich and morning air carried the scent of freshly cut grass. They raised horses, planted saplings, and watched their children grow among the steady rhythm of nature. Alan taught his daughters to steer an old car across open fields, their shrieks of laughter bouncing off pastures. Weekend fishing trips became sacred rituals. Muddy boots, lunchboxes, and sunlight dancing over rippling water. For Alan, songs never came solely from booth microphones or studio cables. They were born from the hum of an aging engine, the slap of river waves against a wooden boat, the warmth of dinner conversations over cornbread and sweet tea. These memories later shaped tracks like Drive for Daddy Gene, anchoring multiple generations in one heartfelt melody. But fame has sharp edges. As Alan's career ignited through the 1990s, success wrapped itself around them like a tightening cord. Sold-out tours, constant interviews, and endless travel widened the physical miles between them, and emotional ones, too. The spotlight that once seemed magical slowly cast shadows across the marriage. Denise watched from the sidelines as her husband drifted deeper into the whirlwind. Adoration, temptation, ego, exhaustion. The man she once knew as a playful Southern boy became harder to reach. In 1998, the storm broke. Alan confessed he had been unfaithful. The admission shattered Denise's trust with a force she could only describe later as my world turning to smoke. She had sacrificed her own dreams to support his, only to be left with questions, self-doubt, and a hollow ache. In her memoir, she revealed how she spiraled into emotional collapse, struggling to find the pieces of her identity. Months passed in painful fog. The applause that swelled around Alan felt deafening to her. She feared disappearing behind his success entirely. I gave up the work I loved to follow his dream, she wrote quietly. And somewhere along the way, I forgot who I was. Yet instead of walking away, Denise sought solace in faith. With trembling prayers, she began to understand that love is not only built on romance and passion, but also on grace, the courage to forgive someone who broke you. She realized she didn't want to erase their story, but rather rewrite the chapter that hurt her most. Slowly, she opened her heart to the possibility of healing. On the other side, Alan grappled with regret no spotlight could drown out. The betrayal did not bring him freedom, only emptiness. Nights alone revealed truths he had long avoided. Nothing mattered more than the woman who had held his hand since youth and the family that waited in the quiet of Franklin. His remorse pushed him into action. Counseling, confessions, adjustments in work, an unwavering effort to earn back the trust he had damaged. Rebuilding trust is slow, tender labor. Alan showed up present, humbled, willing. He traded ego for empathy, long tours for time at home. He learned that meaningful relationships are not maintained by grand gestures alone, but by daily reassurance. Eventually, after months of painful separation, they chose to return to one another. Not because the hurt vanished, but because their roots held deeper than the storm that tried to uproot them. They saw clearly that their shared youth, their children's laughter, and the life they built across decades were far stronger than a moment of weakness. Their love did not simply survive success. It survived the cost of it. And in choosing each other again, Alan and Denise proved that sometimes the most heroic act is not rising to fame, but refusing to let the spotlight burn down the home you return to when the show is over. Alan never forgot the grace Denise showed in choosing forgiveness, allowing their marriage to be rebuilt on honesty rather than illusion. Together, they found more than reconciliation. They rediscovered purpose. Their home echoed with the laughter of 3 beloved daughters, Maddie, Alexandra, and Danny. These girls grounded them, turning hectic days into something tender and real. To Alan, they were not just children, but anchors, reminders of why he worked, why he tried, and why he chose to grow instead of surrender. Their presence would later find its way into songs like Drive, for Daddy Jean, and Remember When, melodies stitched from moments at breakfast tables, backseat giggles, and shy whispers before bedtime. Through music, Alan immortalized the love, the sacrifices, and the everyday magic of a family learning to stand stronger together. In time, the storm clouds over their marriage thinned, revealing a deeper meaning beneath the scars. Their love wasn't restored by romance alone, but by something more resilient: respect, empathy, and the willingness to walk through sorrow hand in hand. One Christmas Eve, Denise offered Alan a gift so profound it wordlessly stitched pieces of the past back into place. Beneath the shimmering lights stood a mint-condition 1955 Ford Thunderbird, the first car Alan ever owned as a 15-year-old boy. Back then, he worked long hours saving every dollar to buy it. And the day he drove it home, he felt taller than the trees lining their small-town roads. Years later, after marrying Denise, responsibility forced him to sell the car to secure the down payment on their first modest home. It was a practical choice and a painful one. Denise never forgot the sadness hidden in his smile that day. Quietly, without a word, she spent months tracking the car across the states, following old paperwork, handwritten notes, and fading registration documents. When she finally found it and placed the keys into Alan's hands decades later, he assumed it was simply the same model. But when she revealed it was the car, the very machine that had carried his teenage dreams, his breath trembled, and tears softened his voice. That moment was not about chrome or engines. It was about memory, sacrifice, and a wife who saw the boy inside the man. For a while afterward, life seemed to settle into gentler rhythms. Alan's career soared, yet home remained steady. The world saw him as a star. His family saw him as dad. But peace seldom lasts forever. In 2010, thunder without warning roared over their lives. Denise, the woman who had walked beside him through betrayal, fame, faith, and forgiveness, was diagnosed with cervical cancer. 2 terrible words that strike with the weight of a falling cathedral. Suddenly, the spotlight felt cruel. Cervical cancer progresses through 4 stages, and survival depends on early detection. In the earliest phase, confined only to the cervix, the prognosis can be nearly perfect with Pap tests, HPV screenings, and localized treatment. But once the cancer spreads into surrounding tissue or lymphatic systems, treatment shifts into a brutal combination of radiation and chemotherapy. At stage 4, when the disease invades distant organs such as the lungs or liver, survival drops to 15 to 20% over 5 years. Doctors spoke softly. The statistics were cold. And Alan and Denise's world shook. Chemotherapy carved new battles across Denise's body. Hair thinned into fragile wisps. Energy disappeared like fading smoke. Bones ached. Her once brilliant smile dulled beneath the weight of nausea and exhaustion. Even their house felt transformed. Pill bottles on tables, medical appointments replacing dinners, hope and fear taking turns at the door. Though many details of her treatment remain private, one can imagine the quiet weeping behind bathroom doors and the silent prayers whispered beside sterile hospital beds. At the time, cervical cancer was one of the leading threats to women in the United States. According to the American Cancer Society, approximately 12,000 women were diagnosed each year, and nearly 4,000 never survived. These numbers were no longer abstract. They had invaded their living room, their kitchen, their marriage. For the first time in years, fame offered nothing. Awards could not cradle a trembling hand. Songs could not stop the hair from falling, and applause could not mute the fear creeping into sleepless nights. Alan, who once filled stadiums, now sat quietly beside hospital chairs, learning that the greatest stages are those lit by monitors and heartbeats, where love is tested most deeply. Together, they faced the cruelest uncertainty of all, the fear of losing the person who once helped you find yourself. For more than 30 women each day, cervical cancer meant a silent death sentence. And for Denise, hearing the diagnosis felt like standing with her toes over the edge of a cliff. Even with modern medicine offering hope, the emotional terror was suffocating. For Alan, the news landed like lightning. The man who had stood confidently before tens of thousands of cheering fans suddenly found himself powerless, reduced to a frightened husband watching the person he loved most fade behind hospital curtains. Rather than drowning in despair, Alan stepped away from the bright lights and roaring crowds. He canceled commitments, postponed appearances, and traded spotlights for sterile hallways. He sat beside Denise through every sleepless night, every blood test, every trembling moment that begged for strength. His hand never left hers. His voice, normally amplified across stadiums, now whispered quiet encouragement, because sometimes the bravest words are spoken in hospital rooms. In that darkness, he poured his anguish into music. When I Saw You Leaving emerged not as a polished product, but as raw confession. It was a prayer disguised as melody, a plea from a man terrified of losing the woman who had shaped his entire world. The song became a vessel carrying his fear, faith, and desperate hope. Meanwhile, Denise fought back with a courage even she didn't know she possessed. Side effects ravaged her. Hair falling in clumps, bones aching beneath blankets of fatigue, her reflection growing unrecognizable. But Alan and their 3 daughters surrounded her like a living fortress. When you know you are loved and needed, she once said, you discover strength you didn't know existed. Love became medicine when medicine wasn't enough. Months dragged on. Battles with radiation and chemotherapy felt endless. But then, quietly, gradually, miracles stitched themselves together. Treatments ended, scans cleared, doctors nodded, and cancer retreated. Relief washed over their home like spring rain. It was not only a victory for Denise's body, but for persistence, faith, family, and an unbreakable marriage forged through pain. Even today, cervical cancer remains a haunting threat. While HPV vaccines and screenings have reduced its reach, thousands still face its shadow. Understanding what the Jacksons endured reveals just how fragile hope can feel. Denise's survival was not simply medicine. It was resilience made visible. Yet, life storms are rarely singular. Just when the family exhaled, tragedy struck again. In 2018, heartbreak found their doorstep once more when their eldest daughter, Maddie, lost her husband, Ben Selectman, in a sudden accident. Only 28 years old, Ben suffered a severe head injury after slipping while helping someone onto a boat. Despite immediate treatment and days of desperate care, he did not survive. The loss shattered Maddie's world. Alan and Denise mourned not only a son-in-law, but a young man they had embraced like their own child. Alan thanked fans publicly for their compassion. He described Ben as kind, devoted, and everything they had hoped their daughter would find. Losing someone so young felt brutally unfair, a wound that cut deep through the family center. But Maddie refused to let grief consume her. Inspired by faith and by the family's history of turning wounds into wisdom, she founded a charity supporting widows and children in crisis. Through this work, she honored Ben's memory while transforming pain into power. Alan watched with tears-softened pride, marveling that the same fire which once burned in his own music now glowed inside his daughter's heart. And yet, hardship was not finished with them. In 2021, Alan returned to the public eye with news that stunned fans. He had been diagnosed with Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, a rare inherited neurological disorder. It had been quietly creeping through his body for years, weakening muscles, destabilizing his balance, distorting his gait. He revealed that the condition had long haunted his family, passed down from his father. Though not fatal, the disease is cruel in a different way. For a performer whose identity is intimately tied to the stage, the gradual loss of coordination can feel like losing pieces of the soul. Critics once whispered that he appeared intoxicated or exhausted during performances. When asked, Alan answered with heartbreaking honesty, "If you see me stumbling, it's not because I'm tired or drunk. This is the battle I face every day." Charcot-Marie-Tooth has no cure. Treatments offer only management, not healing. The knowledge hangs heavily over daily life, reminding him that tomorrow might be harder than today. Even as his steps falter, his voice remains steady, because music is the one part of him the disease cannot touch. Through every tragedy, cancer, death, illness, the Jackson family learned that love is not a fragile song. It is a steel string pulled tight across decades, vibrating with pain but never breaking. And those storms continued to arrive. They faced each one the same way they faced fame, betrayal, sickness, and loss. Together, hand in hand, refusing to stop singing. In the United States, only about 1 in every 2,500 people lives with Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease. And yet nearly 3 million individuals around the globe face its slow, unforgiving progression. Current treatments, supportive physical therapy, braces, orthotic devices, or corrective surgeries, can only soften the symptoms and preserve a limited degree of mobility. There is no reversal, no cure. Still, against this bleak backdrop, science has begun to glow with promise. Researchers at the UCL Queen Square Institute of Neurology have announced new approaches to treatment, and early-stage gene therapy trials are quietly building hope for patients whose futures once felt sealed shut. These developments, though only in their infancy, have cracked open a door that once seemed permanently locked. The door that Alan Jackson now gazes toward with cautious optimism. Even with this illness wrapping itself tighter around his nerves, Alan refuses to surrender the life he built. Every step demands focus. Every stair feels like a mountain. And yet he still takes the stage with a microphone in hand, breathing his soul into each lyric. Where his legs falter, his voice rises. Where muscles weaken, heart and spirit strengthen. "I'm going to sing as long as I can sing," Alan vowed. "It's all I've ever wanted to do." Behind him stands a quiet miracle. Denise. After enduring her own battle with cervical cancer, she now becomes his anchor. She understands fear in a way only survivors can. She stands beside him through shakiness, exhaustion, and the frustration of a body refusing to obey. Her presence is not loud but steadfast. It is the kind of devotion that survives betrayal, sickness, and years. Together, they've learned that love is not just warmth. Sometimes it is armor. The story of Alan and Denise is no longer simply about illness. It has become a living testament to resilience, faith, and the promise two people made long before they understood how difficult in sickness and in health could truly be. Even as his legs tremble beneath him, Alan's eyes blaze with determination. His silhouette on stage, unsteady but unwavering, has become a symbol of courage for thousands facing invisible battles. And he once reminded fans gently but firmly, "I may grow weaker, but the music will live on." Across more than 30 years in the spotlight, Alan Jackson has become something far greater than a best-selling country singer. He's a guardian of tradition. When Nashville turned its eyes toward pop gloss and commercial trend chasing, Alan stood rooted in the soil of the South. Steel guitar, twang, and raw storytelling. Critics called him stubborn. Fans called him pure. To many, he became the final voice echoing from the era of Conway, Charlie, George, and Merle. His influence runs through the veins of the next generation. Superstar Luke Bryan once admitted that his childhood soundtrack was shaped by Alan's music, right alongside Strait and Haggard. To him, Alan embodied what a Southern artist could be: humble in lifestyle, enormous in integrity. In 2024, when Alan was honored at the ACM Awards, Eric Church declared, "Alan Jackson is a national treasure. His music is powerful because it is honest, simple, and sincere." Church wasn't flattering. He was documenting truth. That same authenticity earned Alan the prestigious ACM Poets Award, reserved for songwriters whose words outlived their era. Even George Strait, Alan's idol and friend, the very man who inspired him to move to Nashville, stood shoulder to shoulder with him during their unforgettable duet, Murder on Music Row. The performance was not just a song. It was a manifesto. It declared that traditions matter, that roots matter, that country music is more than market trends. The moment carved both men into the musical history books as warriors standing against cultural erosion. But Alan's legacy extends beyond awards and industry debates. Fans remember the man at album signings, the tall figure who bent down to listen, who asked where people were from, who didn't rush conversations. They remember concerts where, remember when entire stadiums dropped into silence, eyes filling with tears. Someone in the back row thought of a spouse. Someone near the front remembered a parent they lost. Everyone heard their life reflected back to them. One elderly fan once whispered, "Alan's music is the diary of Southern living. Every one of us has a page in it." In the end, Alan Jackson's greatest gift is not 75 million records sold, nor his star on Hollywood Boulevard, nor even his place in the Country Music Hall of Fame. His true legacy is the reminder that authenticity, the kind found in front porches, family kitchens, and honest hands, can echo louder and last longer than any trend. His songs are heirlooms passed down, sung quietly in kitchens, remembered at weddings, whispered at funerals. As he nears his late 60s, his smile remains soft and familiar. But behind that grin hides the relentless struggle with Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease. When he revealed his diagnosis publicly in 2021, he explained that every step on stage had become a test of balance and will. Many confused his shaky gait for exhaustion or worse, intoxication. Gently he corrected them. "If you see me stumbling on stage, it's not because I'm drunk. This is the battle I face every day." Most retire quietly when illness comes knocking. But Alan Jackson is not most people. Instead of retreating, he chooses to turn adversity into a final anthem. A promise that even as the body wears down, the music, the tradition, and the spirit will not fade, because some flames do not extinguish. They are passed forward, song to song, heart to heart. Long after the singer takes his final bow in the summer of 2026, when thousands gather beneath the Tennessee night sky for that final Nashville performance, something profound will occur. People will not come merely to see a man sing. They will come to pay respect to the quiet decades in which Alan Jackson held a lantern over the heart of American country music and refused to let its flame go dark. It will not be a night of endings, but a night of gratitude. Fans whispering thank you in melodies, strangers becoming family through shared lyrics, generational lines dissolving beneath familiar chords. Parents who once blasted Chattahoochee from truck speakers will now bring their grown children. Those children will carry memories of being rocked to sleep by Remember When. In that arena, time will fold. And when the final note hangs in the air, lingering like smoke over the river, fans will realize they are living through something their grandchildren will ask about. It will be one of those rare moments when music becomes history. Alan himself often said that the most meaningful applause comes at the end, not because it celebrates what happened, but because it acknowledges everything that will remain. Beyond the cheers and spotlights, life now moves more quietly around him. On his Franklin farm, mornings rise slowly. Alan walks the grounds to the sound of horse hooves and wind threading through the pines. He leans by fences, checking wood rails like one might check memories. Carefully, gently, he sands the worn curves of vintage cars in his workshop. Each stroke a conversation with his younger self. On sunny afternoons, he sits on the porch with Denise, sipping sweet tea, watching hummingbirds flicker like tiny sparks over the flowers she planted years ago. Becoming a grandfather has deepened his appreciation for slowness. The laughter of a child, light, innocent, unburdened, reminds him why he first learned to write songs. He often says that success is measured not by trophies, but by the number of chairs filled at Sunday lunch. In the soft murmur of family chatter, he feels something fame could never purchase: wholeness. Illness has reshaped his days. Balance slips, legs tremble. At times he catches his reflection and sees a stranger's posture. But every struggle brings an echo of Denise's battle with cancer and her victory. When he falters, she steadies him. When his voice wavers in frustration, she answers with the calm only survivors carry. Together, they've learned that love is not only roses and anniversaries. Sometimes it is pressing a warm hand against a cold fear. Sometimes it is waiting without answers. Theirs is a marriage that grew roots underwater. Roots that held even when storms raged above. They have walked through betrayal, illness, grief, and the rare loneliness that fame brings. And yet, after 40 years, Alan still glances at her the way he did at 16, like she is the only steady star in a dark sky. His influence on Nashville can be measured not just in awards, but in how younger artists speak his name with reverence, like mentioning a favorite uncle who taught them how to hold a guitar properly. Many confess they learned how to write lyrics by studying the curve of his phrasing, how to be humble by watching him treat stagehands and waitresses like equals. At award shows, speeches often pivot toward him as if gratitude naturally gravitates toward his chair. Fans remember not only the songs, but the stories behind them. The boy from Noonan recording in cramped rooms, sleeping in vans, asking only to be heard. They remember how he stood when others bent to trends, how he sang truths others were too afraid to put on paper. His songs became diaries for people who never learned to write their hearts out loud. Remember When is whispered at 50th anniversaries, cupping the hands of time. Drive plays when fathers teach their children to steer through open fields, passing heritage through gear shifts and laughter. Where Were You? Still brings silence on September mornings, a national exhale of memory and pain. At funerals, his music softens grief. At weddings, it blesses new promises. At homesickness, it opens porch lights in the mind. At heartbreak, it turns despair into poetry. Few artists can soundtrack every chapter of a life. Even fewer can do it with such sincerity that strangers feel seen. Critics have attempted to define him, but perhaps the truest portrait is this: Alan Jackson made ordinary lives feel worthy of song. He sang about grocery store clerks, plumbers, mechanics, waitresses, landscapers, people whose work builds America. He gave them dignity in steel-string choruses. With humor, he celebrated imperfect men. With tenderness, he honored patient women. With nostalgia, he raised childhood memories like photographs to the light. As age threads silver through his hair, he carries no resentment for time's insistence. Instead, he sees years the way Southerners see farmland. Fertile, shaped by storms and seasons, valuable because of wear. His footsteps may slow, but his legacy walks briskly through the halls of country music. Academic journals will dissect his contribution. Historians will categorize his era. Biographers will bookmark his triumphs. But the true record of his life will remain where it always has, quietly pulsing in the hearts of millions who grew up with his voice pleasantly crackling through car radios on humid nights. He has stood on stages as tall as mountains. He has been humbled to hospital floors. He has raised daughters into women. He has buried loved ones. He has watched crowds become oceans, silence become applause, and applause become silence again. Through it all, he held a guitar the way some hold a compass. And someday, when the lights eventually dim and his touring boots rest beside the door forever, his legacy will remain woven into the American South like kudzu. Dense, green, determined. His words will continue to ripple along rivers, through barns, down highways, across diner counters at 2 a.m. His choruses will still rise from tailgates like campfire smoke. Fathers will hum his tunes while fixing engines. Daughters will sway to his slow songs on wedding nights. Radio DJs will whisper introductions like blessings. Because country music is not defined by charts or fancy stages. It is defined by hearts beating in rhythm with truths unpolished. And no performer of the modern era has done more to remind us of that than Alan Jackson. He was not flawless, but that imperfection is what makes him real, what makes him ours. He stumbled, learned, forgave, and was forgiven. He bent, but did not break. And in bending, he taught us how to stand. One day, long after the final encore fades and the microphone sleeps in its cradle, people will still lean back in rocking chairs, glance at sunsets and whisper, "Remember when?" And in that simple phrase, his life's work continues. Quiet, eternal, faithful, just like the man who wrote it.